My boyfriend, 34 years old, and I, 38 years old, went to a wedding this past weekend. We stayed in a hotel for 2 nights and 3 days for the event, and he was a bridesman, or whatever the male equivalent is, for the bride, a childhood friend. Along with the actual wedding, we had a Halloween party with much of the wedding party at a speakeasy. I knew going into this it would be incredibly hectic and non-stop, but I wanted to be there for my boyfriend. Some background on us. He has diagnosed ADHD and he highly suspects high-functioning autism. He is incredibly charming and personable, but an introvert at heart who can shut down at social events when overwhelmed. I suffered from complex post-traumatic stress disorder for years and still have a lot of anxiety, but can handle it well for the most part. When he gets overwhelmed at functions, I have always tried to find a way for him to escape the situation and calm down, even talking through strategies ahead of time. At this time, it was me who was overwhelmed. I knew no one, and it was non-stop. The energy and noise and small talk were overwhelming, and I was looking to escape myself. I did at times for moments, but by the end of the night, when we got back from the Halloween after party to our room and were about to go drink fancy wines with the bride and groom at 1 a.m., we got into a fight. We were both exhausted, and he made a comment about me being grumpy in front of a bridesmaid at the speakeasy that was incredibly embarrassing for me. In the fight, he said something that absolutely stunned me. He said I was miserable the whole time and not making an effort to talk to people and not engaging, that it shouldn't be up to him to make sure I was having a good time. I never said it was up to him, not once. 2, I was trying so hard to talk to people. 3, he knows I have anxiety too. It hit me that the safe place I strive to create for him, he does not create for me. I was quiet for a moment and tried to point all of this out to him as calmly as possible. He started bawling his eyes out, saying he was also tired and stressed and taking it out on me. I agreed he was not helping me out and started to devolve into him saying he doesn't feel good enough for me. We calmed down enough for the wine and then talked about it in the room, him falling asleep, crying in my arms, and just feeling horrible. I don't begrudge him his feelings and believe him when he says he regrets what he said and will work harder to try and create escape strategies for me too. But I constantly feel like I need to be the strong one and, again, even after yelling at me despite knowing my anxiety, he needed to be comforted. We're okay now for the most part, but I still feel incredibly shaken. His affectionate words and actions after the fact aren't soothing what he said in that moment, and I don't know how to move past it. To add a few comments below, 1, there was mention of how my title says yelled, and then my post says he said. By yell, I don't mean he screamed at me at the top of his lungs, but it was in a raised voice and said sharply. I hope that clarifies what I meant there. 2, my boyfriend absolutely does not have neurodivergence, and in other situations has supported me. If I have a hard day at work, he'll make me dinner. He comes to family events, which I'm sure he'd rather not attend, if we're being honest, but we've all gone to family gatherings we wish we could avoid, and works really hard to be engaging. There have been many times he has asked me if I need words of affirmation, or just an ear if I am upset with a friend, situation, etc. That said, we've never been go like this, and maybe it was just too much for both of us. Number 3, my boyfriend and I had been in individual therapy for years to deal with our anxiety and help us be healthier for romantic and non-romantic relationships. However, for various reasons, we've been out of therapy for over a year. It may be beneficial for us both to return. Thank you all for your thoughts on this matter. I'm sure in time I'll be able to move past this with him or make the right decision for me. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If the relationship continues this way, you will learn to stop telling him when you are upset, because it is not worth having to pull him out of the hole that he himself created. This was my ex-husband. It got to the point where people thought we had the perfect relationship, but it was just because I made sure we got along while holding in all my anger and hurt. I remarried a wonderful man 11 years later, and this is where I learned that this kind of thinking is not normal. Stand up for yourself and stop softening the blow for him. Comment 2. 1. You pointed out your boyfriend does nothing to create safe spaces for you, then you ended up comforting your boyfriend. 2. Know your limits. If you are not going to enjoy a Halloween party after a wedding, skip it. True friends will not want you to go if they know you will not be enjoying yourself. 3. How do you move past it? You see if his actions match his words. Look for ways your boyfriend goes out of his way to check in with you and make you feel safe in the days to come. If he does not change, do not move past it, break up. Now for the update. I'm going to share some updates since my last post about the wedding. Hope the comments help me figure out if I'm overreacting or if I should be worried. A week after the wedding, my boyfriend and I decided to have a chill dinner at our fave Italian place. This restaurant is our go-to spot. You know the vibe, dim lighting, checkered tablecloths, the usual. It's where we go to celebrate, complain about life, or just hang out. So as we're digging into our carbonara, my boyfriend mentions that his friend is hosting a Halloween party in a few days. I wasn't sure how I felt about it, considering our recent drama, but he brushed it off as something fun we could do. He even said we could leave early if it got too much. So there I was thinking, okay, let's give it a shot. Fast forward a few days and we're at this Halloween party at his friend's house. When I tell you this place was packed, I mean packed. People in costumes everywhere, loud music, laughter. It was like a scene from a movie. My boyfriend immediately got caught up in conversations. I mean, he didn't even look back, leaving me in the corner, feeling like a ghost at my own party. After about an hour, I was over it. I stepped outside for some fresh air, thinking maybe I'd feel better. My boyfriend noticed I was missing and came outside to check on me. He asked if I was okay, and I said I just needed a breather. But he insisted we stay longer, which led to a disagreement. He accused me of ruining the fun for him. This, of course, attracted the attention of nearby guests who were just trying to enjoy their Halloween candy or whatever. Feeling embarrassed, I walked away to find a quiet spot. When I finally returned, he was calmer but still upset. The next day, he suggested a weekend trip to a cabin to clear our heads. We both love the outdoors, so it sounded good. At the cabin, we spent our time hiking and cooking together, which helped us mend a bit. One evening, while we were making dinner, he brought up the Halloween fight. We talked openly about our needs during social events and what went wrong that night. I suggested we create a plan for future gatherings to avoid misunderstandings. We both agreed on setting boundaries about how long we would stay at events. I also said I didn't want to be left to fend for myself. Back home, my boyfriend proposed a monthly date night to strengthen our connection. I thought it was a good idea. A week later, we attended a family dinner at his parents' house. It started off fine, but things got awkward when his parents brought up the future. They asked about marriage, and the room got quiet. He stayed mostly quiet during the conversation, which made me uneasy. He explained later that he wasn't ready for that discussion yet and preferred to focus on us. We agreed to take our time and prioritize our bond over external expectations. After that dinner, we ended the night in good spirits, planning a trip for the upcoming holidays. Honestly, things are still complicated. I know we've made some progress in our relationship, like the date nights and planning things out together, but I'm still feeling a bit on edge. I get that he's not ready for marriage talk yet, but I just wish he'd show a bit more enthusiasm for our future together, you know? I don't want to keep feeling like I'm a ghost in his life, just hoping for a better spot in the crowd. So I'll make sure to post an update if anything big happens. To answer a few questions, my boyfriend and I have been together for over 2 years. We both have busy jobs, which sometimes makes it hard to find time for each other. The Halloween party was the first major event we attended after the wedding incident, and my boyfriend thought it would help us reconnect. The family dinner was unexpected. His parents often bring up marriage, which makes me nervous. As for the date nights, we've had 2 so far, and they've been nice, but I still feel like we have a lot to work through. We're trying to take it one step at a time. Am I the idiot for refusing to put my life on hold for my boyfriend's family drama? We've been together for over 2 years. We don't live together. He lives with his mom as a caregiver. She's very hurtful. Over a year ago, he put his foot down and told her to start looking at other options. She didn't, and their lease renewal came up. She didn't have anywhere to go and can't live alone, so he had to sign for another year. He put off getting engaged because, even though he wanted to sooner, his older sister had been in her relationship longer and was upset, wanting to get engaged and married before he did. He waited and then stopped listening to her. She's still not engaged. I tried to talk to him about things like a timeline for when he wants to get married, a few months, a year, longer, but he said there's enough going on. His mom still hasn't been looking for any other living situation, and now his sister is pregnant. It's very early, like she just found out a week or two ago. Handling Halloween candy out to all the small kids hits him hard with baby fever every year. But this year it was worse. We both want kids. So it sparked that conversation. We both want two, but as soon as a possible timeline, even just if it'll be before I'm too old. For some context, I have a condition that causes a lot of pain in my uterus, and it's fairly likely to turn into cancer. I've already decided, and he knows this, that I'm having my uterus removed by age 35. Because on top of my heightened risk of uterine cancer, I have another condition that makes me high risk automatically. So the even higher risk of pregnancy over the age of 35 is completely off the table. Adoption isn't an option. I was adopted, and it was extremely traumatic. I can't imagine watching a child go through all of that trauma. So him saying, "Let's let my sister have hers before we talk about that," hit hard. It also relit the issue of when we'll get married. And again, he wants to wait until she has her child and is ready to be away from it long enough to attend. But it wasn't just giving a timeline, it was saying we'll pick a date once his sister is ready to attend. Not we'll pick a date far enough out that she'll be ready to attend. We'll wait until she's ready to even pick a date. I love him. Everything else in our relationship is amazing. We're very happy. But even though this is our only issue, it's a big one. I understand that he was raised with a very strict mom and sister come first mentality, in a way that their wants come well before his needs. He wasn't allowed to mourn deaths because it would make them sad. He couldn't eat enough food to keep weight on because it made them jealous that he could eat more without gaining weight. I fully understand that he had a traumatic childhood revolving around that, but I don't want to keep putting our lives on hold and possibly missing out on things we want just because his sister or mom isn't ready for it yet. It's starting to feel like we're going to be waiting for his sister's child to be 18 before even setting a date for our wedding, and then for her to retire before even talking about when we'll have kids. I know I'm overreacting to an extent, but right now I'm considering just scheduling my hysterectomy instead of waiting for something that feels like it'll never happen. I'm also considering giving him the ring back and telling him to ask again when his sister's ready for us to get married. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Sorry, but your relationship isn't amazing if your partner refuses to prioritize you and your health. The only life on hold is your own. And if you keep waiting on this spineless man baby, you'll be removing your uterus without having had children. Things won't suddenly be sunshine and rainbows once you're married. Even as his wife, you'll never come before his mother or sister. They, including your boyfriend, won't respect you and the relationship. Do you really want children? Find someone who truly wants to have them with you. Comment 2. This is it, OP. You are living for a tomorrow that no one is budging to make happen. The way your relationship is the best it's going to be. As it stands, you're on hold for his mom, who likes how things are and has no incentive to change, and for his sister, who you're now giving time to have her baby. But what if she gets pregnant again, or gets engaged? She has no incentive to step aside and let you have your moment, and your boyfriend indulges them. If you are serious about your timeline, you really should move on. Now for the update. I'm at my breaking point with my boyfriend, and I don't know what to do anymore. 2 days after the last update, I'm at a family dinner celebrating my parents' 30th anniversary. The vibe is off, and I know I'm the reason for it. My boyfriend was invited, showed up late because of work, and immediately got grilled by my dad. We all know they love the guy, but right now they want to know what's taking so long with engagement and babies. I tried to change the subject, but my mom brings up my cousin's wife, who's due any minute now. That did it. Now my mom is talking about how exciting it is to have another baby in the family, and do I want a boy or girl? My boyfriend is fidgeting at the table, and I can see him glancing at his phone every few minutes. I know he's got a lot going on, but I need him here with me right now. After dinner, we move to the living room for dessert and coffee. My parents start talking about old family stories, and I zone out. I hear a voice in the hallway and realize it's my boyfriend. I tiptoe over and see him whispering on the phone. When he sees me, he hangs up and looks flustered. I ask who he was talking to. He brushes it off, saying it was a work call. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. The next day, I stop by my older brother's house for a chill get-together. He mentions overhearing our parents talking about my issues with my boyfriend. He suggests I stand up for myself. I appreciate the advice, but it's not that easy. That evening, my boyfriend invites me to a small gathering with his family. It includes his sister, who's 8 months pregnant. She walks in, and the first thing out of her mouth is how her boyfriend isn't doing enough to help her. I can't help but roll my eyes. After she leaves the room, my boyfriend admits he feels guilty about his sister's situation. He insists we can wait until after the baby is born to make any decisions about our future. I can feel myself getting frustrated. I know I need to take action, so I schedule my hysterectomy for a month from now. I tell my boyfriend we need to talk about our plans after the surgery. He gets angry and accuses me of being selfish for not putting his sister first. We both storm out of the house and get into a heated argument in the driveway. His mom overhears and comes out, siding with her son. Now I'm fuming. A week later, I get a message from my boyfriend asking to meet up. We decide to meet at a diner. He apologizes for his mom's involvement and says he wants to work on our relationship, but suggests we take a break. I know I need to show him I mean business. The night before my surgery, I post an ambiguous message on social media about moving on. My boyfriend sees it and panics, calling me over and over. I ignore his calls and go through with the surgery. After it, I text him saying I need time to think. He shows up at my house unannounced with flowers, begging for a second chance. I tell him I have no intention of waiting for him or his sister anymore. I'm moving forward with my life, no matter what he decides. He leaves, looking hurt and frustrated. Things have changed, and he knows it. Now I'm packing my bags for a solo trip to Costa Rica. It's time to reclaim my life. Mini update. After my surgery, my boyfriend and I had a candid talk. He expressed that he wants to prioritize us, but I made it clear that I won't wait for his sister anymore. I'm now focused on my healing process and getting my life back on track. A solo trip is just what I need. Am I the idiot for telling my wife her closure with her ex is just an excuse? My wife and I have been struggling with infertility treatment for 2 years now. It has been difficult on both of us mentally and my wife physically. We moved cities for work to keep our healthcare benefits and are both feeling isolated. However, she says she feels more isolated due to her working remotely while I get to go to an office. I don't interact with anyone in the office. My team is spread out globally. 2 weeks ago, she sat me down after work and said she had to tell me something. She proceeded to tell me that she saw an ex-boyfriend she dated in high school on Instagram almost 2 months ago. She decided to reach out to him, and he responded 3 weeks ago. In the week between his responding and her telling me, they had talked in detail about their lives since high school. He is also married. He made obvious attempts to rekindle something, and she claims to have shut it down, in her words, several times. However, she did continue talking to him. She told me this, and I asked to see the messages because I honestly had a hard time accepting it. I read them all, and the conversation was mostly innocent. I did find it worrying that she asked for his phone number and gave him hers. Then, a day later, I guess he hadn't texted her because she reached out again on Instagram and said something along the lines of, "Hey, you still haven't texted me. Are you dodging me?" I find it worrying that every interaction was initiated by her. I asked her not to continue talking to him and told her that part of the reason I felt bad about the conversation was that I felt like the way she was texting him was how she used to text me when we just started dating. I told her I was hurt and felt like she was looking for more than she was actually admitting to. She says that she dodged a bullet with him and that talking to him made her appreciate her life more. But my contention is, what if it had gone the other way, that she really enjoyed talking to him? Would it have become something more? I have a hard time believing she wasn't looking for something more than a casual conversation with an ex. She agreed to stop talking to him. Now for an update. That brings us to today, when she was telling me a story about someone else. In the middle of it, she casually mentioned the story was from that same ex, and it was something he had shared with her when they were talking. I told her I didn't want to hear stories from him because that wasn't really a fun interaction for me. She then told me that she knew it was wrong because it made me feel bad, but that I was stifling her ability to talk to other people. I told her I was fine with her talking to literally anyone else but an ex-boyfriend who keeps hitting on her. How do I address this situation with her in a way that doesn't make her feel more isolated? Was my boundary too restrictive? I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around this. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Yeah, she tried cheating and leaving you. The guy wasn't down for it, so she realized she had to stay with you. To ease her guilt about her attempt at leaving you, she's told you they were talking. If her ex had been down for it, you would be reviewing the divorce papers served by her right now while she would be staying at his place. Comment 2. You know how healthy people solve isolation issues? They call their family and friends, they go to meetups or hobby classes, they go to the gym, volunteer, or attend church. I don't know. There are so many ways to make friends. Texting your ex isn't a good way to make a friend. It's just a way to blow up a marriage. Now, for the update. A few weeks have gone by since my last update. Since then, my wife Sarah and I planned a small dinner party at our new place for a couple of friends we barely know. Sarah seemed super distracted while getting everything ready for the dinner. She was on her phone like every 5 seconds, and I could tell something was up. I saw a text notification pop up from someone named Chris. It hit me that Chris was her ex from high school. My stomach dropped a little at that. I know I said I wouldn't be the jealous type, but come on, can you blame me? I tried to act cool about it, but inside I was like, no, not this again. At dinner, it was like Sarah was on another planet. She laughed way too hard at some old prank story about Chris that one of our guests told. I mean, it was funny and all, but she was almost cackling. After our guests left, I couldn't hold it in anymore. I had to talk to her about it. So I brought up Chris, and she was all like, oh, it's just a coincidence, babe. I haven't spoken to him at all. I showed her the text notification on her phone, and she just brushed it off as spam. I wanted to believe her, but I had this nagging feeling in my gut. The next week, Sarah had a work-related conference that left me home alone for a few days. I was doing some cleaning up when I stumbled upon this unopened letter in the mail for Sarah. It was marked urgent, so of course, my curiosity got the better of me. I opened it, and it was from a fertility clinic. They had scheduled an appointment for Sarah and everything. I was like, what the heck? She hadn't even mentioned this to me. When she got home, I confronted her about the letter, and she got all defensive. She finally admitted that she had been considering fertility treatments, but she didn't want to burden me with it. We ended up having a heated discussion about our struggles with fertility and our communication issues. It was like everything just spilled out. A few days after that, I got this mysterious package addressed to Sarah at our doorstep. I opened it, and inside was a photo album filled with pictures of her and Chris from high school. I couldn't believe it. I confronted Sarah again about the package, and she said she had been going through some old stuff and wanted to reminisce. I was like, reminisce? Come on. This discussion escalated, and she accused me of not trusting her. We both just needed space. So we agreed to take a break and spend some time apart for a few days. During that time, I went to visit my parents for the weekend because I just needed to get away. Over dinner, my mom brought up that Sarah had called her, wanting to talk about our issues. That was a surprise to me. When I got back home, I found Sarah in tears, sitting on the couch. She told me she had spoken to Chris again. She said it was just for closure. Apparently, it was about moving on from all those high school memories. I was so conflicted. We decided to try couples counseling, hoping to fix some of the things between us. At our first session, things got intense. We both ended up revealing some pretty deep stuff. The counselor suggested we write letters to each other about our feelings and concerns. A week later, Sarah told me she had received a text from Chris asking to meet up for coffee. That was it for me. I told her I couldn't accept her meeting Chris, and we needed to be clear about our relationship. This led to a major argument. She insisted that she deserved closure. We were both just so frustrated. I feel like we're just going in circles at this point, man. It's like no matter how much we talk or how many sessions we go to, nothing's really getting solved. I get that she wants closure, but honestly, I'm just not okay with her meeting up with her ex. I just don't know where we stand anymore. It's so draining, and I just want us to be on the same page. We're still going to couples counseling, but man, I just want to get through this. Awaiting developments. Edit. Sarah and I have been going to couples counseling for a few months now. It has helped us communicate better, but some issues remain unresolved. Despite that, we decided to take a break from counseling for now. Sarah has agreed to pause any contact with Chris while we work on our marriage. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.